Hello and welcome to the 14th installment of my grading of all of the base game cards. If you want insight into the grading system, check out the description or click on the link in the top right hand corner to get to the first video, where I explain it all. But let's get started. We start off today's episode with Ganymede Colony, the first Jovian multiplier in alphabetical order. It is also the cheapest one, which already makes it really good as a last gen play, since you can get a really high point per MC rate. As with all Jovian multipliers, this is a card that is unbelievably dangerous to pass, especially if your opponents are going for a long game with card draw and titanium prod. Often you will need to cut Ganymede Colony from opponents with a few Jovian tags, even if you would have liked to pick up another card for yourself. This alone should make it clear that Ganymede Colony will land in one of the higher tiers. But where? Ganymede Colony compares favorably to Water Import from Europa, the other low-priced Jovian mold, mainly since Ganymede is cheaper. You pay 5 MC extra on Vive for its action, which is actually really bad, and to use it, you need to play it early on, revealing your Jovian mold and disincentivizing people from passing you more Jovians. All in all, Ganymede Colony is just a better point card and has one other niche use case in securing meta. I will rank Ganymede Colony in A tier for its massive potential and the fact that it is one of the scariest cards to pass. Gene Repair is a solid science card that will be a good pickup in the mid-game if you already have the tags or are trying to work towards a bigger science payoff like mass converter or anti-gravity technology. However, it is not more than that. I won't pick up Gene Repair in my starting 10 if I don't have mass or AGT on hand. It is almost never a card that is worth working towards with no other combos on hand. Why? Well, it is not particularly cheap for 2 points, so it's not the best option as a last gen point card, and it's also not a great development card due to its high cost. So it is really only viable as a mid-game card. It's just C tier in my opinion. What Power Plant is for 1 power prod, Geothermal Power is for 2. It is a cheap, solid power production card that you can pay for with steel. In fact, both cards, if bought in a draft, give exactly 1 power for 7 MC. Geothermal Power is your best bet if you want to play Strip Mine. You get 2 power immediately, which allows you to play Strip Mine in the same go, so that no one can tap you. But in the same vein, if you only need 1 power prod, you will have 1 left over for tapping. And lastly, this card is of course relevant for Builder, Contractor, Thermalist and Industrialist. I think everyone knew which tier this would land in. It is a classic C tier card, mainly useful in the early to mid game. In episode 7 I talked about carbonate processing, which landed in D tier, and explained why I thought GHG Factories was much better. A, it's much more efficient to use up 1 power prod for a bigger card, and B, it grants a temperature step every other gen, since 8 is divisible by 4 but not by 3. But let me be clear. It is no more-whole area, since that is just cheaper in total if you count rebates and the cost for the power prod. But it is solid, and will score you some points throughout the mid-game. Of course, it's a great card for Helion, or in general if you have some good cards that rely on the temperature track on hand. All in all, I think, again, it's a C tier card. Useful in the early game, solid for Builder, and then it falls off in the mid-game like many of these production cards in C tier. Don't underestimate GHG Producing Bacteria. That's what I did for a long time. There are certain scenarios in which it is really good. And I don't mean that you need to play it together with ECF, although that is still a pretty nice combo. What I mean are situations in which the O2 is rushing up fast in the early game, maybe due to Experimental Forest, Protected Valley, Towing a Comet, a Gardener fight or an Ecoline player. This actually happens quite a bit in high-level play, and if the heat stays low, GHG Producing Bacteria can score you 2 or 3 heat steps throughout the game and grant 2 useful tags for just 8 MC. Viral makes this card a lot better, and it is a target for imported nitrogen, which can be super useful. All of that being said, the situations in which this card is really good are still quite rare, and otherwise it is just often unplayable or maybe grants a single temperature bump. So all in all, I'd rank it low C tier. It is best on Tharsis and Elysium due to the milestone situation, and in my opinion it is definitely better than Regolith Eaters, but more on that in a future episode. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know in the comments whether you agree with my ratings, or if not, how you would have rated them differently. Also, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing. And lastly, please check out my Twitch and my Twitter. See you in the next video.